Hello, Boxing Asylum listeners. Thanks for tuning in to the latest YouTube video. My name's Steve Wellings, and I'm joined this evening by Alex Morris, Kurt, and Mr. Paul Webb. We're going to just be discussing the news today that Andre Ward has said that he's willing to come over to the UK to fight Carl Froch. I think it's the fight we've all been waiting for, isn't it? Kurt, I actually liked Andre Ward's comment that he made halfway through this Sky Sports interview when he said, I just wanted to come over and give my UK fans a chance to see me in the flesh before I retire. Well, I'm sure there was millions standing around the television sets there thanking Andre for that. I mean, it's absolutely amazing news, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, poor Andre. I don't know what voices he's been hearing. Maybe his God's been telling him the wrong things there. But I don't see many UK Andre Ward fans, to be fair. But in all seriousness, I did like what he said about the comment. People get people don't understand that they say that Froch fought me in my backyard, so I should do the same to him. When he's on the west coast and the fight was in Atlantic City, which is like a 6 or 7 hour plane ride, and people got to understand that it's nowhere near the same thing. Yeah, Ward has made a habit of fighting in Oakland and being in his comfort zone, but for that fight with Froch, it was pretty neutral. It was in America, but it was pretty neutral in terms of where he is and where Froch was. But I see that he doesn't want to go to Nottingham, but he said he's happy to go to any other place in UK. And Eddie Hearn even acknowledged it and said Ward is happy to come to the UK. So I think people can, stop saying he won't come now. And it's a fight that it makes sense in the terms of they're 1 and 2 in the division. I know Ward's been out, but they are 1 and 2 in the division. And people say the first fight was a bit of a one-sided loss for Froch, but Froch has done well since. Ward has been inactive, so if Froch is going to beat Ward, it'll be now, won't it? When he's been out of a while, and I'm hoping the fight can happen. It would be great to have a fighter like Ward, even if you don't like his style, a top fighter, and take out Mayweather. And he could be the best fighter in the world when he's active. So I think that'd be great to see a fighter like him, on the British soil.
Mm-hmm. Alex, Froch has never given me the impression that he particularly wants this Ward rematch. From what I remember of the first fight, Ward won it pretty comprehensively. It didn't seem like something that would warrant a rematch. But now Ward seems happy to accommodate Froch. He seems happy to come over to the UK as well. Obviously, we haven't seen much of Ward over the last few years. I mean, why do you think he suddenly is interested in this Froch fight?
I think he realizes that this is the biggest money fight that's on the table for him. He's seen Froch's sort of meteoric rise as a star over here, well, obviously he was already an international superstar during the first fight, but he's become even more of a pay-per-view star now, Froch, and he brings a lot of money to the table, and I think ultimately that is what fuels Andre Ward, the pursuit of money and the pursuit of just having a good career payday, and I think that Froch would obviously bring that. And the fight does obviously sell better in the UK than it would in the US. It wouldn't be pay-per-view in the US, but it would be over here. So yeah, I can understand why he'd come over, and I can also understand his qualms with going to Nottingham, because not only do we worry about our own judges in this country and things like that, but he shouldn't necessarily have to go to hostile territory to fight a man who he's already beaten once. But boxing politics as it is, you don't always get what you want.
Does that matter, Alex? Sorry to interrupt you. Does that matter, the Nottingham City Ground thing? I mean, they're going to pack 40,000 in, according to Eddie. Does it matter if it's Nottingham, if it's London, if it's Manchester? Does the
Well,
UK not represent
hold on.
hostile
Ward's
ground?
got a big fan base in London apparently, so he might want to go there. He want to be the attraction.
I think
Sorry, Alex. What do you think?
I think it's ultimately irrelevant where it is. Obviously, Nottingham will be having a higher Froch fan base, I think, but the whole country will obviously be more based and biased towards Froch. But a lot of people don't like Froch. I genuinely believe that, not just from a point of we're in our little bubble, and obviously we don't. A lot of us don't like Froch because he's a bit of a twat, but I genuinely think that a lot of people wouldn't mind seeing him get beat either, because a lot of the shit that he talks, and a lot of neutrals might turn up as well just to see Andre Ward fight. He's a great fighter. He's not just great, he's an excellent fighter, and I think that given the fact that Ward has been inactive for nearly 2 years by the time that fight might get signed, then it might be a bit closer than the first fight. But then again, Froch has lost a step or two maybe since the first fight. The first Groves fight certainly took a lot out of him, I believe, and the second one, he boxed a lot more cautiously than he used to. Maybe because he can't keep up the pace that he's used to. But I guess we'll see that in the future. Ultimately, I just hope it happens. I can see it filling some sort of stadium, not Wembley. These dreams of Wembley are just utterly ridiculous so far. I don't think Froch fills Wembley with any fighter. No matter how famous they are, if Froch fighting anyone, it will not fill 80,000 seats again. So I think they should, lower their ambitions a little bit, and a 30,000 they could probably easily do with the caliber of Ward and Sky's promotional budget.
But you got to think as well. Surely some compromises can happen. I mean, if they wanted to fight in Nottingham so badly, first thing, obviously more money toward, and maybe do a thing like there's an American ref, or
Yeah.
American judge, two American judges. I mean, to be honest, I can understand why Ward doesn't want it there. If he saw the Durrell fight, he thinks that, it might be hard to win a decision there or whatever. But whether he fights him in Nottingham, in London, in Manchester, wherever, Froch is going to be the one who the crowd are going to be cheering for. So I don't see that much of a big deal, especially. But yeah, if he gets the American ref or the American judges, then to me, I think Lee Froch could be on the judges, and he'd still have his brother losing that fight, because I don't see how Froch can beat Ward, and that's nothing to criticise Froch with. It's just that Ward is just a bad star fight for him. Ward is just too good for him, and Ward's too good for everyone around that weight.
Ward has been very inactive, Paul, as we mentioned, but I think Alex made a good point where he said that Froch has certainly lost half a step, and I mean that's understandable given the amount of wars and the consistent world-class operators he's fought over the last few years. You can't expect him to keep on going to the well time and again, and he's even started mentioning, those dreaded retirement as well. I mean, I'm not saying his heart's out of the game or anything like that, but they are pretty evenly matched. But I mean, in terms of wear and tear is what I'm saying. But would he be competitive, more competitive than the first fight? I mean, how does it go any differently?
I think that they're both, in terms of inactivity, this is probably one of the longer periods of inactivity for Froch. Obviously, he's not fought since Wembley. I mean, Ward has fought twice since he last fought Froch. So he fought twice in just under 4 years, which is horrendous inactivity. And as good as Ward is, as good as any fighter is, you're always going to have that little bit of ring rust on him. I think, is Froch's heart in the fight? It wasn't. I don't think it has been, because he, unlike the Kessler loss, which he contested and said that he thought that, the ash clouds did him in, and, witch voodoos and whatever else that was caused a problem for that. But he was soundly beaten by Ward. The judges' scorecards didn't reflect the fight, or certainly the two of the scorecards didn't. And whether it's fought in England or in America, I'd still back Ward to do it. But is Froch ever likely to have a better chance to beat Ward than now? No. So if the fight does happen, he's got his best opportunity. If Ward comes back in, picks up a tick over and gets back to where he was 2011, 2012, Froch is in a world of trouble. But also, it's the risk factor with him. So does he get embarrassed by Ward? No. Does he lose? Yes, but he'll lose on points. He doesn't get stopped by Ward. If he fights a big puncher like a Gennady Golovkin or someone similar, he has that risk of getting knocked out. And that's one thing he doesn't want. He doesn't want to get embarrassed. No amount of money is worth it for Froch for him to get embarrassed. So will we see the fight? I don't know. At the minute, I'm saying no. But would I rather see it than him versus Chavez at 4 a.m. in Vegas? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Chavez there. Obviously, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Kurt fights Fonfara soon. If he gets past Fonfara, which is no given, I don't think, at the moment, then Eddie mentioned they still fancy the Chavez fight for Froch. Is that something that'll happen in place of the Ward fight, after the Ward fight, or is that something that's on the table, do you think?
I think the problem with Chavez is he doesn't know what weight he really is. I mean, he wants to be at 168 to maybe make this Froch fight, but I just don't think he can make it, and that's why I think this is Fonfara fights at 172. I think he's a light heavyweight, and I don't see that fight happening, to be honest. And like you, I think he's going to struggle to even beat Fonfara. I can see why Froch and Hearn want that fight. Listen, it's a fun fight, but it's going to be a fun one-sided fight. Froch beats Chavez. Chavez, he's just not good enough, and he's going to take too many shots. And unlike other opponents, he's not going to have like a 25-pound weight advantage. And Froch is obviously, he's so strong and so tough, and he'll beat Chavez. And I can't see him having too much trouble with it. But it would be a fun one-sided fight, so I can see why they want it, but I just don't see it happening. So there's not a lot of options for Froch. I mean, Ward, I don't see him taking that one because if it's going to be his last fight, he'll want it to be a good fight. And he said he didn't want the DeGale fight. He couldn't get up for that kind of fight, which I thought a bit odd to be honest, seeing as he just came off the Groves fight, which was obviously the biggest fight ever, and even the first fight was still a big fight. And I think the DeGale fight would have been, but there's not a lot of options there. He won't fight Golovkin apparently because Golovkin's not a super middleweight. I mean, I've never heard that excuse before, but yeah, there's not a lot of options there for him. So I think the realistic one is retirement, unless Chavez looks sensational against Fanfara, and he can get down in weight. I still think that won't happen. So I think retirement's the likely option for him.
Yeah, I think after the Gross fight, Froch realised that the end was on the horizon, I think, and De Gale stylistically wasn't a very pleasing option for him, and he didn't want to go out sort of losing to a De Gale, I don't think, because I think De Gale would have caused him a lot of problems. Alex, we mentioned Chavez, we mentioned Golovkin, just briefly, which direction would you like to see Froch or Ward go if they don't meet one another?
Well, both I would like to see him with Golovkin, really. That fight, I think, is a lot more easily made for Froch, considering I think that Andre Ward is a lot bigger man than Froch, and I think that he's more suited to moving up in weight, and I think he's told himself about moving up a weight and, his dreams of eventually fighting for a heavyweight world title, but I think that Ward, I would prefer him to go up and fight Kovalev. I think that would be a very interesting fight. I think that would be uh, I think it'd be better suited and less of a more competitive, shall we say, than Golovkin and Ward. They're saying that I personally believe Golovkin beats Ward, but I'd rather see Golovkin against Froch at this time purely because Golovkin will destroy him.
Paul, final word to you, Paul. Which direction do you see the guys going? What are the options if they don't fight one another, or even if they do afterwards? Which direction do you see them moving in?
Well, I just want to see Andre Ward back in the ring. I mean, Froch, like I said, can he top? If boxers have to top it, if you have to look at that, he's hit his pinnacle in front of 78,000, not 90,000, because they keep saying 90,000, it really grinds me. 78,000 people at Wembley with a big knockout win in a massive fight. So he could retire, no problem. He's passed on to Gale once, so to go to Gale would be silly. A cash out, easy fight against Chavez, I suppose, would be okay. But I'm not so fussed about what Froch does because for me, it's Andre Ward. A lot of people don't like him stylistically, but he is a superb fighter. Before he went out, I had him number 2 in my pound for pound listing. I just want to see him fight. I would back him to beat Golovkin. I would back him to beat Kovalev. I'd back him to beat any super middle or light heavyweight that's active at the moment. Now, the dreams about going to heavyweight might be a slightly different story, but I genuinely think he's that good. I don't care who he fights. He could fight someone crap when he comes back. I just want to see Andre Ward with some gloves on and not a suit on. So as long as we get that, I'm happy. If they fought each other again, great. I'd love Ward to come to the UK. I'd love to see him fight live. And if Froch loses, there's nothing to risk. He might lose, but he's not going to get beaten up. He's not going to get knocked out. It's a safe option for him. And I'd like to see it happen, but I just, like every other major fight that Hearn's trying to make this year, I can see this one going in the crapper.
Okay, fair enough, Paul. We'll put a full stop on the end of that one then. Well, thanks very much, guys. We'll let this one with interest, I think. Thanks to Alex and Kurt and Paul. And thanks to you for listening as well. We're really enjoying doing these YouTube videos at the moment, and we'd be really grateful if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to leave a comment, if you agree or disagree with anything we've said, then please leave a comment below. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening.